Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, the former governor of the great state of Nevada, Robert List, joins us for the whole show on the all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Forget the weather outside. There's a blizzard of points inside the Carson Valley Inn during the 15 million points giveaways. Drawings every Thursday and Saturday, including 4 1 million point winners guaranteed. And don't miss the 2 million point grand prize giveaways. It's the 15 million points giveaways at the Carson Valley Inn.
Big R in Sparks is located on Bering Boulevard next to Smith's and across from Reed High School. It's a 50,000 square foot clothing store and a whole lot more. And for these wintry days, jackets, hoodies, flannel shirts, insulated bib overalls, and merino wool socks. Plus, Big R still has shovels and snow melt. You need it, they've got it. Big R. Hardware, clothing, and a whole lot more.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do-It-Right guys and get the heat back on today. Call us today and we'll fix it today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why freeze for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your furnace fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's Development Company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Find your fortune during the $150,000 Lucky Fortune giveaways at Tamarack Casino. Cash and free play giveaways every Thursday and Saturday, including $5,000 cash guaranteed and $40,000 in grand finale giveaways. Your good times are at Tamarack Casino.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always delighted to welcome back to the program the former governor of the great state of Nevada, Robert List. Pleasure to have you back here, sir.
Thank you, Sam. Good to be with you again.
So let's start out with some of the topical things that are happening. First of all, what are your thoughts on the two candidates we have running for president, the main candidates, because at this point it doesn't seem that Nikki Haley is making much ground.
No, I wish she would jump out, frankly. At this point, it's just costing the Trump campaign money and effort, and she is derogatory toward him. It's not helping anybody, I don't think. And he's all but there. I think within 3-4 weeks, he's going to have the delegates he needs to nail down the nomination.
So let me ask you this. What do people who don't like Donald Trump not understand about why people like yourself, who I so respect, do like about Donald Trump?
Well, I think there's a side of Donald Trump that puts people off. And it's his, sometimes it's his style. You know, he goes after people, I think, sometimes unnecessarily, criticizes them. I think of the recent time when he went after DeSantis, when DeSantis is already out of the race and had a lot of supporters, millions of supporters, and people that would probably come to him ultimately. But it puts people off, and he can be very brash, and that's a side of him that is unattractive for a lot of us. But I think we, hopefully in the end, I and others I know are going to overlook that in favor of his policies and his accomplishments.
And what do you consider to be his leading policies that make you so supportive?
I think it's his international accomplishments, the the way he was able to rally the NATO countries, the way he was able to push back in North Korea. I think our allies and our enemies have to respect him because he basically does what he says he's going to do, and so he's has with that a whole lot of power and accomplishes things internationally. He in this country he drove down our interest rates. He pushed taxes down. So his record of achievements are very much respected and appreciated by those of us who remember them.
When you look at all the court cases, and especially the couple that have come up in recent weeks, even though they will be appealed, how does that strike you in terms of if you can't get him politically, you can get him financially?
Well, financially and judicially, they call it lawfare when you go after somebody in the courts, it's a form of warfare. It certainly is a terrible detraction, and it strikes me as actually just a political attack. I mean, this New York thing most recently is so blatantly obvious that here's a guy who borrowed money, paid it all back, and they're after him about his loan applications when the banks were perfectly happy with them, and he paid some of it back ahead of time. That's blatant and obvious, and to me, just a real political vindictiveness on the part of the Attorney General of New York, and on the part of the court, the judge, who was clearly biased.
It's funny. When this case came up about the stating the wealth, and I thought to myself, and this is not in favor or against Donald Trump or anybody else, but what business has ever gone to a bank and not inflated their financial position, or when it was time to do their taxes, has not deflated their income? And legally, I'm not saying illegally, I'm saying legally because that's the way our system is set up. So doesn't that throw this whole case into a bizarre light, especially when the banks, when somebody declares bankruptcy, most people don't understand it. When most big firms declare bankruptcy, the banks are lined up to get back in.
Yeah, they are. And no, you're absolutely right. And particularly when you're dealing with real estate, there are several ways to arrive at fair market value. And one way is through, comparable sales. Another is through doing a cap rate calculation on the revenue from it. It's difficult to come up with what is the balanced, correct value of real estate. And most of his holdings are in real estate in New York and New Jersey and Florida and across the world. And so obviously he's going to put a positive spin on it. In fact, we all do that when it comes to borrowing money, and it's up to the bank to do their own appraisal. And if they don't like what they see from the applicant, they'll loan them less money than they're applying for.
That is a great point, because obviously banks do due diligence. And when you're talking tens of millions, if not billions of dollars, they definitely do their due diligence. Deutsche Bank made money, and they were more than willing to go back in and do more loans. So doesn't this turn this even more political, just from that financial point of view?
Absolutely. I expect it to be reversed on appeal. I think it just looks like a let's go get Trump at any cost. And now you got the same kind of politically motivated situation going on in Georgia. And that's pretty much been outed now that we see what was behind that. And one by one, these cases are, I think, going to fall away. And the more they push them against him, the more determined his supporters become because they're offended by it. It's just not the American way.
Well, I don't, maybe this minute is not the American way, but it's been the American way for a long time in politics. And as I've said on this program many times, you can go back to the Greek and Roman times to find politics. And back then they were stabbing people in the hallways. So, this may be a better time than that. When people worry about where we are as a country and the anger that is in the country, I have to think that, we had a civil war that was far worse than anything that's going on now. We had the Vietnam War and all the demonstrations. Do you have concerns that the conventions could end up in this year being more like 1968 than we might have thought before?
I do. That 68 convention was in Chicago, I believe, and it was terrible with all the demonstrations and the violence. Police force that was used, but that could certainly happen. I mean, when you have a joyful celebration in Kansas City because they won the Super Bowl, and it winds up with some young people getting in fights and shooting, and half the victims in that case were children. It can happen anywhere, anytime, and you take a situation like that, which is certainly not contentious, and you contrast these political conventions where there are strong feelings and a lot of them irrational. It obviously could become a major problem. I remember the 68 convention, I think it was the Republican convention in Miami, and we had to fight our way through tear gas to get into the arena, and it can happen on either side.
And that's the reality, is that this is actually nothing new.
That's true. We live in difficult and controversial times, and I think the economy being what it is, and the general culture having declined in my estimation with respect to crime and poverty and immigration, and so many people can't afford homes, and their lifestyle has had to be cut back. We live in times where people are more volatile, and so I think with that comes the outbreak that shows the dissatisfaction and controversy and fear and concern that so many people across this country have.
When you look at the immigration situation along the border, as you well know, immigration has been a disaster since the last time it was temporarily fixed, which was 1986 under Ronald Reagan. And I was told by Ty Cobb, his former political advisor, that Reagan actually regretted doing the immigration reform. So Lord knows where we would be if he had not done it. But, the inability of Congress to take up this issue, because it takes, as you well know, senior senators on both sides of the aisle and a president to jump in and take control of this. But we don't have any movement in the Congress. It's the worst I can remember.
I agree with you. I'm amazed by the fact that these people are in total denial on the Democrat side, and the Republican side, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot better in the Senate. We hear about it from some, of course, and of course you've got some of these senators that are influenced by constituents who hire these people. These are employers who hire or looking for cheap labor, and they're probably whispering in the ears of some of their senators and congressmen. And so it's a very sad situation, and it's unfair. I think we're to the point where maybe some of the unions are going to be pushing back, and I think the people are angry about it, And that's going to result in more people turning up to vote. And perhaps the Democrats and those who've been reluctant to move on the immigration front will be motivated by it, and maybe they'll be challenged more heavily in the voting booth.
Don't you think that the reality is, when you look at the makeup of people who are coming across the border, not only the southern border, but now the northern border as well, that it's not just people coming from Southern and Central America, it's people coming from all over the world that are looking for a better life. And as long as America still holds out that hope, which we do, and you know, sometimes the media paints America as not such a good place, it is still the greatest country in the world and the greatest place for opportunity. So as long as we have that as a beacon, aren't the people just going to keep coming, and therefore we need to regulate how they come? Because they're not going to stop coming.
No, they're not. And I think the majority of them are coming for the very reasons you stated. They're admirable reasons, looking to put their family ahead and achieve something worthwhile. But you're right, they're coming from everywhere. I was watching a TV news program the other night, and they went down a long line of immigrants and asked them where they were from. And there were a big number of them from Kazakhstan, they're from the Middle East, they're from everywhere. And the only thing we can do to protect our own economy and integrity as a nation is to enforce the rule of law at the borders. And that's just hasn't been done.
Well, and isn't it almost an impossible situation if you don't have the ability to convert these people to a legal status? I'm not saying citizenship. I'm not saying that everybody is allowed to come in. I'm just saying that if you're just bringing all these people into the country, you're not going to be able to hire enough judges. You're not going to be able to hire enough border force. You know, we would need those immigrants to take those jobs to be able to make this work. I mean, that's the ridiculous situation.
Well, that's true. It is. It's reached the stage where the scale of it has gotten so big that we're overwhelmed at the border, and the reputation around the world for this country is that we have been very lax and that we're allowing them to come in. And you see them now when Texas cracked down on them. Now they're pouring across in California. Nobody's doing anything about it. And it's obviously there's still some pushback in Arizona. I'm not sure about New Mexico. And as you say, now they're coming across the northern border, which was inevitable. And we have almost just zero enforcement and manpower and control on the northern border. I'm surprised that hasn't happened sooner.
Well, I won't go into any humorous reasons why, but let's take a break. We'll come back more with my good friend, former Governor Robert List, after this time out.
Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV ProGroup.org.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Robert List. He's the former governor of the great state of Nevada. I have to ask you this question because you and I are both getting grayer. There was an interesting piece on CBS's Sunday Morning about aging and capability. And what it basically said was, you know, all of us are individuals and we are all aging in different ways. You are as sharp as I've ever known you. I hope that I am doing as well as I can be. Do you have any concerns about the age of either of the candidates for president?
Well, I think to be more specific, it isn't so much age as it is cognitive capacity, because everyone ages differently. I'll be 88 in September, and when I see the condition of Trump compared to Biden, there's just no comparison. There are people who, I have a friend who's 86. I was with him yesterday, and there's clear decline in any conversation you have with him. And so it's a process of aging rather than age numerically. And we all decline to some degree as we get older. But to drive to the heart of what's behind your question, I mean, clearly, President Biden should be retired. He's at a stage where it's obvious that he's off balance mentally and physically. And is this the best we can do in America? I mean, we're a country of 330 million people or whatever it is. And is this our number one guy? And President Trump, I think, is, I don't think he's changed much in the last 20 years. I think it isn't due to his chronological age so much as just his personality makes him seem a little bit different. But I don't think that's the reason in his case.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be right back with Governor List after this timeout.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Robert List. He's the former governor of the great state of Nevada. So I know that you followed the series Mobbed Up that the Review Journal put out. And I was having a conversation with some folks over at the RJ the other day because I'd love to see them do a 4th season of Mobbed Up. And what topic do you think they should hit that they haven't already if they were going to do another season of Mobbed Up?
Well, I'd like to see them do a series on what it took to clean up the mob in Nevada, to get them out of here. I still get questions from friends from around the country that are curious about whether we still have the mafia operating in Las Vegas. And I think it would be good for them to do a series on the cleanup, as I think of it, what it took and how many people went to jail and how many people had to forfeit or have their licenses revoked. Kind of quantify the depth in which the mob had their grip on the Las Vegas Strip, or a majority of it. It would be interesting to see.
And that's where we have to leave it. Robert List, it is always a delight to see you and visit with you, and I thank you, and I hope to see you when I come down to Las Vegas in April.
Anytime. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, and we'll be right back.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
7 at 7 is a newscast built for your smartphone. It's a 7-minute newscast available every weekday at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at lvrj.com. We don't waste your time, and we give you the day's top stories.
We at the RJ have noticed some similarities between us and a certain BTS character, RJ.
Plus the latest in Las Vegas business, weather, health, and entertainment news. 7 at 7 streaming now on your smartphone.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Event Center sits at the heart of the Las Vegas Strip. 2 floors of meeting and event space are ideal for groups and conventions. Stay in one of 200 luxurious rooms and suites. Brand your event throughout the property. Flexible event spaces make for easy planning and personalization. Take over the entire hotel with a full buyout option.
Thanks for watching Nevada Newsmakers. You can catch us online 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com, or you can download the podcast wherever you like to get your podcast. We'll see you on the next broadcast.